Creative block or writer's block, no matter what you call it, it's something you will face on your artist journey. You may be even facing it right now watching this video. But what do the successful, incredible artists and legends of the industry think of creative block?
What do I do when I get writer's block? Honestly, right through it.
But come on, Chris, is it actually that easy? And that's why in this video, I've pieced together a range of nuggets of wisdom to help you overcome creative block from learning from the legends, from the people who have been in your shoes and got past it. There are links in the description to all of the original videos, so please do share the love with the original content creators. And without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome back. Daniel Fish here, helping you survive and thrive in music. As always, timestamps are below and in the pinned comment, so if you should be in the studio right now, and especially if you're feeling that inspiration, please don't let me get in your way. Check the rest of the video out later on. So funnily enough, the first strategy here is related to that. It's on the note of inspiration, and it's from Brian Eno. If you've never heard of Brian, he's arguably the father of ambient music, while also working with U2, Coldplay, David Bowie, James Blake, just to name a few. And this point he's got about inspiration and enthusiasm is spot on.
The big mistake is to wait for inspiration. It won't come looking for you. It's not so much creating something, I think, it's noticing when something is starting to happen. And noticing it and then building on it and saying, okay, that's new. That hasn't happened before. What does it mean? Where can I go with it? Everything good proceeds from enthusiasm. The sense of, I really want to know how this turns out, will drive you on through many, many long nights of no results.
That's Brian Eno talking about inspiration. But what if the block here is actually not having inspiration? I'd recommend two things. First is to not always focus on getting things done, getting things pushed out. Sometimes make the focus an exploration. Whether it's a new environment, new sounds, or even diving deeper into your instrument of choice. When you make the focus a kind of a jam, an exploration, those ideas, that enthusiasm seems to come up more instead of trying to push things out. Just that switch in mindset. Another aspect of inspiration is life experiences. Say you sat in the studio 24 hours a day. What have you got to write about other than the frustration of creative block? Adding those little life experiences in, and I don't mean the adrenaline junkie of jumping out of a plane, go for it if you want, but more those little moments every day as having a coffee with your partner, with your family, with your best mate. I even heard one artist once say that their taxes really inspired them. I don't know, inspiration works in a wonderful way. So we've covered the world of inspiration, which is of course a big one, but another one is pressure. And this is from Steven Pressfield, the author of the legendary The War of Art. If you're a creator and an artist and you haven't read this book, honestly, it's life-changing. There's a link in the description if you want to check it out. This clip is from Steven on the Joe Rogan Experience a fair few moons ago, hence the quality.
You find that the tendency is to try too hard, right? You want it so bad. You don't want to screw up. You want to get it right. You want to, not embarrass yourself.
Right.
And so you wind up trying so hard that nothing comes, And finally, like over time, I'm sure this is the same for everybody, you kind of say to yourself, man, I just have to lighten up a little bit, because when good things happen is when I'm not trying so hard. And in many ways, I think that's the hardest thing of all.
This is an incredible point by Steven, and I want to unpack it a little bit. So when you're really putting pressure on yourself, you're less in the groove and flow of creating ideas, and you're more focused on productivity, on getting things over the line. Creativity and productivity are two different kinds of systems and workflows. So when you're in the studio, ask yourself, am I in the studio to create and come up with ideas, or am I in the studio to turn these ideas into finished tracks? As Steven says, try and take a bit of that pressure off. And one way of doing that is changing the purpose of your studio session. And you might have guessed right, the next way of overcoming creative block is through purpose. And this one's with James Holden, an incredible artist who combines modular synthesis with acoustic drums. It sounds amazing. This one is from the Ableton Loop conference in 2015.
And when you have a collaborator, you've kind of come together for a purpose, and that helps you sort of feel like, well, we might never meet again. That's the point of this. This happened is a recording of something that really happened. And that kind of gives it a purpose. It gets you over that hump. When I sit on my own and try and make solo electronic music, I think I have reached that point where I just feel like, Beatport's full.
All jokes aside, that's a really interesting panel if you want to check it out. Links in the description, and just to remind you, please do share the love with any of the original content creators from this video. So James makes a really great point here, as adding some purpose to your studio session can add a bit of that enthusiasm which Brian Eno spoke about earlier, whether that's a collaborator or a purposeful dive into a particular instrument. Adding some purpose can really add that enthusiasm, and whether it is a vocalist, an instrumentalist, or even another producer, fusing two minds together and adding some creativity in the mix can really help. So the next way of overcoming creative block is probably my favourite of this whole video, and this one is from Seth Godin, an incredible author who's actually released a recent book called The Practice, a whole book based on this topic. But this tip is around turning up every day and doing the work.
Yeah, I'm notorious for saying there's absolutely no such thing as writer's block. But when I talk to people who say I don't have anything to say, when I talk to people who say they have writer's block, I say, show me your bad writing. Show me the stuff you've written that's no good. They don't have any. Right. As if you show me enough bad writing, I guarantee you some good writing will slip through. You can't help it. It will slip through. My friend Isaac Asimov wrote 400 books, published them in the old days when it was hard to publish that many books. And I said to him, how do you do this? And he said, every morning I get up and I go to the typewriter, and from 6:30 to noon I type. And it doesn't matter what I type. I just have to keep typing. And what happened was his brain realized he was going to type anyway. You might as well type something good.
Honestly, this is my favourite one out of the whole video, and I'll unpack why. So while Seth does talk about writing, this transcends all creativity and fits perfectly into music. As when you make a daily habit, even if it's only putting half an hour in every day because you've got a full-time job, you're always turning up and putting in the work. And by making it a habit, it's not a decision whether you should be doing it or not. You're literally turning up, doing a bit of the work, and putting in some of those hours which help you get to that 10,000 hours to mastery mark. But not only that, it compounds over time. And as Brian Eno said, you're not waiting for inspiration. You're turning up every day, and whether that is organising your samples, whether it is being creative, there's so many different facets to a career in music and not just being creative. So that's something to consider. So fifth and finally, one strategy we haven't actually spoken about yet, which is pretty important, is taking a break. And Nicky Romero is breaking this one down.
The best way of the writer's block, well, for me, the only solution is walk out of the room, play FIFA, and then come back. And if it doesn't come back tomorrow, because there's no way of fighting it. You cannot force music. You know, if it comes, and that's great. But if it doesn't come, there's no way of pushing it. The greatest ideas will come only in a few minutes, you know, and most of the times the biggest songs, and at least the most important elements in those songs, are done in a split second.
As we said earlier on in this video with Steven Pressfield, sometimes putting pressure on yourself isn't the best idea. And if you're trying to force ideas out, sometimes it can have a negative impact, which could be creative block. And as Nicky Romero says, he takes a break and in his case, plays FIFA. But it doesn't always just have to be FIFA. It can just be listening to some of your favourite music, or even just organising your sample library. Those little things that do mount up and help you become more efficient in the studio can be done in those moments of creative block. And one thing just to recognise here is you're not going to be coming up with your ideas every single day of the week or month. There's going to be moments where you have loads of ideas and moments where you have no ideas. But the important thing is to keep trying and keep pushing on, not putting pressure on yourself, but trying new things and testing things out and having a little exploration, as I mentioned earlier on in the video. So I'd just like to take a moment to thank you for checking out this video. There are links to everything mentioned in the description, including this incredible book, as well as the original content creators, so please do share the love with them. If this video has brought you value, please consider smashing that subscribe button for new videos like this each and every Monday at 1 PM. So until my next video, stay safe, stay well, and stay creative while you're working away in the studio.